Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec podcast. As always, I'm Aviv Ben-Yosef, here to help you triple impact per engineer. And today we'll be talking about Squeaky Wheels. Before we get to that, as has been the case for the past now over 3 months, reminding you that Israel is still at war. We are actually, as I'm recording this, marking exactly 100 days since the October 7 massacre. It's a bit surreal, but after 100 days, I'm trying to at least make this podcast more focused on helping people and showing that Israeli tech and the Israeli industry in general delivers no matter what. So let's get to it. Now, squeaky wheels, you all know, I'm guessing, the saying, they get the grease, meaning that those people who are most problematic are probably those who get most of your attention, right? And I want to talk about how stupid that is when it comes to how you manage your resources as a leader. Now, I get the fact that if there's a problem, you should be addressing it. It's literally the topic of some of the other podcast episodes I've put out in the past month. Yes, if someone's underperforming, I don't want you to ignore the squeaky wheel. I want you to address it. However, when it comes to your day to day, I want you to think, take stock about how you're spending your time, and really now ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? You have only so many hours when it comes to coaching people, addressing their own growth. How much of your time are you spending on those people who are underperforming? And that's because if we consider your team and we roughly, have three bands, there are those who are underperforming, who I'm guessing are squeaky enough to get attention. Then there are those who are doing fine, nothing phenomenal, nothing too bad. That's the wide middle. And then you have your top performers, those people who are really getting stuff done, your stars. And as odd as it might sound now that I'm saying it, you're probably not investing time at all when it comes to your top performers. Why? Because they are performing, right? And I know that when you consider them, you might be telling yourself, okay, she's already doing really great. How much more can I really help her? However, when it comes to your top people, you need to consider two things. First, any incremental improvement that they make, even if it's not vast because they're already at the top, is probably going to have a lot of compounding value for them and for your organization. Because top performers are already pretty good, but a 1% improvement out of something that's worth a lot is usually worth a lot. More than a 10% improvement in something that's not that good, right? And that's one. And two, I want you to consider really, do you really want to neglect them? Yeah, I get maybe you can't make them twice as good. Even I'm gonna put that aside because I really believe even many of your top performers can get a lot better. But let's say you're telling yourself, I can only help them with this and that, small stuff, incremental stuff. Still, do you want to neglect them to a point where they're now thinking, is this really the place for me? Is this where I'm being pushed to grow? Because eventually your top performers are going to realize that they are the top performers, are not getting enough growth, enough coaching, enough attention, and they're going to move on. And then you're going to be in a deeper hole, right? So, first of all, you should probably be spending most of your time with the top performers, or at least a third of your coaching time in general with them, because they are where you're probably going to see the best ROI. Okay? So, not the squeaky wheels, but the jet engines of your organization need to get that attention. And you need to be doing it mindfully, knowing exactly what we just talked about, how that can help those people improve and how it can help the retention of these stars because you don't want to lose them. I just recently talked to a director that said plainly about the VP. I can't see this VP being the person who's going to help me get to the next level. I feel like I have nothing to learn from him. He doesn't give me any attention. He's just happy that I'm doing my role okay. And therefore, that director, which is a star, his VP, is tremendously pleased with him and would love him to stay for as long as possible. That VP is neglecting him and actually pushing that person, that director, to leave. Right? That's a very common sort of issue I see, and you have to be aware of. Next, we have the wide middle. All those people who are doing okay, and they are usually getting some attention, but not enough. And I want you to consider how you're spreading the coaching capabilities of your entire organization to support these people. Maybe there are too many of these for you to be personally involved. I get that. However, if you have an organization that's driving people to become better, that says, okay, this person is not doing that bad, it's not a person that I think is not good enough. It's someone who, at the end of the day, I'm happy to have here, even if they're not our star people. The question is, how are you pushing them to become stars? And if you're only focusing on the bad performers, you're never going to get there. You can do it by ensuring that you have a framework of coaching within your company so that people constantly grow, constantly have goals for themselves, are pushing themselves. Your leaders, all of those managers you have, should not be solely obsessed about iterations, deadlines, tasks. They actually need to comprehend that their role, their responsibility is to make their people grow. Their product is not the product the engineers create, but the engineers themselves. They need to create an amazing team. And to do that, we have to help our people, the vast majority of them in the middle band, go from good to great. You're going to be focusing a lot more on the great people to make them stellar. You have to address those people who are poor performers because you have to address it no matter what, either by helping them get to the okay middle or saying goodbye. And the wide middle has to get some coaching, not necessarily by you. So create a coaching framework, which I've talked about. There are explanations about it in my first book, The Tech Executive Operating System. And make sure to see upgrades within your people every few months. They need to be constantly becoming better. They need to be getting out of a junior mode within less than a year if you're doing this correctly. And second, create a lot of support systems, especially if you have an organization that's already past 20, 30 engineers. When you have a product engineer organization that's already about 50 people or getting to it, you can start creating real support systems. And I've seen companies do it with 20, by the way. When you have your senior people being coaches, being mentors, helping people move forward, helping them grow, letting them have their autonomy to make mistakes, yet have someone responsible nearby to be able to make sure that we're not making a mistake that's too grand, too grave. And once you help them get there, you can create these support systems that are, in fact, sort of propellants to help your people become better a lot faster. And that is how we create an organization that's free of squeaky wheels, or at least if you have a squeaky wheel, it gets addressed rapidly. However, the rest of your wheels are like, those games where you can give something a little tug and it just keeps on spinning and spinning and spinning because it's that smooth, because someone put the WD-40 on it, because it's not a wheel, it's a car, I don't know. That's what you want to create. Again, a new year. I'm recording this 2 weeks into 2024. We are already 4% of the year done. Yeah, it's going to be done before you notice. We're going to be at the end of Q1 very soon. You're going to blink and you're going to miss it. So if you want to create a team that's generally something you're going to be proud of, because life's too short, because you want to lead a team you're genuinely proud of leading, because you're genuinely helping them get better, because this is something that they're going to look back on for the rest of their careers and think back about this role and this leadership that helped them move forward, that really formed their careers, that you helped create something that actually made a difference, created a product that really saved the company or enabled the company to fulfill its potential. You can do all of that, but it starts with the slow and steady job of ensuring that your people, all of them, are getting coaching, getting attention, moving forward, not just the squeaky wheels. All right? That's it for this week. If you have any questions, comments, stories about your squeaky wheels, my email's in the show notes, and I'll be happy to hear from any of my listeners, as always. You can also find in the show notes a link to my regular newsletter where you can get a bunch of free and exclusive stuff I don't share anywhere else. Thank you. I'll be here next week.